All right, how do I start this one off? G'day. How you going? All right. Today, I want to speak about Jesus. I know that may scare a few people away, and that name has a lot attached to it in today's times. But my experience with getting to know Jesus is a little bit different to most. I'll start, I guess, with how I was raised. Uh, I didn't have a religious household. I didn't go to church growing up. In fact, I was completely avoidant of the subject altogether. One of those classics, I'm not going to believe God's there unless he calls me up and, tells me that he's here. So I spent most of my life resisting it. And as I shared in my previous video, after that 21st birthday, I did go on a bit of a spiritual awakening. And I thought I knew it all and then realized I didn't multiple times until I was introduced to Jesus. Now, I worked with one of the best people I've ever worked with, and he was so strong in his faith and his relationship with Jesus and God that it made me question it because the energy that he had, I thought was similar to my own, very happy, very enthusiastic, very grateful. And I would share these snippets I've learned from books over the years, say 10 or so books of self help and law of attraction, that kind of stuff. And I would share them with him about how they had changed my life and a new way of being for me had come from it. And every time I shared one of those things, he would say, "Yeah, that's in the Bible. Yeah, that's in the Bible. Well, that's in the Bible too." And wow, it got me thinking, how can this book, 2,000 years old, have all the information that these 10 books I've read in today's times from different authors? And I kept questioning that until one day, one of my closest people, Craig from Invercargill, he actually bought me my first Bible. And so I started reading. And from that point on, everything began to change. I had heard when I was growing up things of the Bible and judgments, you could say, of how it was false and how this couldn't be true and this couldn't be true. And in my mind, I'd already shaped a way of thinking about the Bible and falsifying it, because I guess I just wasn't ready to listen to it. But I chose to read it for myself. And with some wise words from Craig, I went in with open eyes, looking to find truth, not looking to find what was false. And well, what I was presented with kind of blew my mind and put into perspective how I had really listened to those around me and their opinions, even though they weren't true. I read and I got to understand who Jesus was and is as a person, a human, 100% human, 100% God. And what I found was someone showing us a way of life that brings us closer to love, which I believe is God, through how to act physically, mentally, and spiritually in loving ways. In other words, how to be a kind, compassionate, forgiving, loving human is what I saw he was showing us in this book. And so my mind was blown. I'd heard all these things, and as soon as I read it for myself, I found something that no one had ever spoken to me about before. And this did truly change my life because I found a love for him that brought me closer and built a relationship with who I believe was here to show us how to save ourselves. Because when you're able to love in these ways and be in these ways, you have created a place within yourself that is loving. So all things that come from you are loving as well. That includes the life you live, as the outside will only ever reflect the inside. So if it's love, your life will be loved too, and you will love your life, right? And I didn't know this. I didn't know this, so it was pretty shocking. And if there's any of you out there that have been contemplating, reading it, but you might have a few mates that say, "Don't do it, like it's just all rubbish." Well, I can relate. I was totally there. But if anything today that you take from this video, just try it. try it with an open mind. You don't have to keep reading if it doesn't resonate, and if you don't understand something straight away, it's okay. You don't have to give up. you know do what you want to do at the end of the day. If it resonates with you, amazing, and if it doesn't, just like these videos, disregard it and move on and live the life that you want to live. We're all free to do that, right? But if you choose to open your mind and heart to his ways, I promise it will change your life. It really will. Because when you read his words, you don't see anything negative. But I want to say, I'm not a religious person. Again, I wasn't raised in a religious household. I've only been to church a handful of times. And since I got to know Jesus, only been once. So I wouldn't say I'm religious, but I do follow Jesus. And that can be hard for some to hear if you are a religious person. I understand that being raised in one of those households, again, we were all conditioned by our environment. So if that's where you are at, then that's amazing still, because your life is still worthy of love, which is exactly what Jesus showed us. I wanted to come here today and give my perspective and my journey with it, because it is different to most, and hopefully it appeals to someone and gives them enough interest to look into it. Because if you are able to follow his ways and learn from him and what he taught us, and some of it's not easy to do, he was a poet, and he wrote in parables and ways that force us to think just a little bit deeper. So that's the intention you have to bring into it if you truly want to see. But since I embraced his ways, I've gone on a journey of what I would say is removing everything that stood in the way of me being able to feel love. The beliefs, the conditioning, everything that was stored inside of me that expected me to be a certain way and do a certain thing to feel a certain way. And what he shows us is that that love that we are seeking all around us, whether it's in a relationship or that job or that car or being able to afford that dinner, whatever it is outside of us that we want, at the core of that is just a feeling that we desire. And you could boil that down to one feeling, and that's love. Now, if you're open to it, Jesus can show us a way through how he was when he was here to find that love within, create heaven on earth, and never have to experience life in such painful, suffering ways again. So that's all I really wanted to say today. Just get that message out there and hopefully show someone what he is really about, and give my perspective on coming from the polar opposite, pure rejection, into loving and adoring him and what he's shown us. There's also a great TV show called The Chosen that's just being made right now. They're about to get up to season 5, I believe. And that gives us a really cool insight because it shows him as a human, having human emotions and a human experience, and can create a way of relating to him that is a little harder to find in the Bible, because the words, the time that it was written in, his way that he spoke was 2,000 years ago. We've developed a lot since then, and it caused a bit of a communication gap, but the show shows it in such a way that you really get to know him. So if that's for you, go have a look, go give it a try. Read the Bible if you've been thinking of doing it, and don't be too hard on yourself. It takes time, but it's that intention to learn, to be open to it, that will show you what you're supposed to see. So hope you're having a beautiful day. I hope this message finds who it's meant to. And I love you. Thank you.